since. Back then I used to drive off Mason. Those cops not used to the faces we got, they would run my plates and we stopped, but I just left work where I restocked. But they see my whip and they see pots on my outfit. They think treetop got a head full of steam like a teapot. Better do what he say or you get shot. Ooh, who are you? See you like red, must be a Paru. If you went to work, why bring the crew? What you think, black folks don't carpool? Better would've been a crib if my shirt turned blue. Keep your hands on the wheel, sir. 10 and 2. I stopped this car cause you did too dark. You know that's a lie, that ain't true. It's cause I didn't know that driving while black was a crime nowadays. I used to think that it would change when I got rich, when my house would need a 40-acre fence. But having money only really made it worse, especially for the one who cracks the whip. Rich folks still don't get passes. New stats don't change your status. Old wounds don't seem less callous, cause we still condone this madness. This routine stop in traffic just needs to stop and vanish. When those folks left that office, I thought we stopped at practice, but they still like, ooh, who are you? That's a nice car, sir. What do you do? What do you sell? What are you paying? And what hood you from, nigga? Who is your crew? What you think, black folks can't be rich? Hands on the wheel, 10 and 2. I stopped this car cause you tend too dark. You know that's a lie, that ain't true. It's cause I really ain't got no passing rights, really none into the afterlife. A green card that in a black card, but the Amex only give a nigga bragging rights. And we still don't travel as a team no more, cause we can't get our baggage right. And the structure in which our face gets structured make us seem more savage, like we curse like Cain. And it hurt like pain. No, it hurt like Wayne when he was hurt by Bane. And they heard my screams, but they ignored my tears and it felt like hell. And it looked like rain when they passed those laws, but it still ain't changed. I still look the same, especially when I swear. Yeah. Didn't know that driving while black was a crime nowadays.
Well, no more waiting. We're just going to get straight on with this one because we're going to be crowning a champion tonight. It could be one of 5 people that could be taking the crown here tonight in the Asphalt Kings in the Autobahn Legends Championship. It's myself, James Otter, alongside Adam Reid here tonight. Should be an absolute cracker, this one, Adam. We're at Sardegna. It is the B layout in this one here. So, situation report, if we take a look at the standings, let's get straight into the swing of things here. One of 5 drivers could end up taking this crown here tonight. Everyone from Ayrton Birmingham upwards to Daniel Malia, and critically the top 2 separated just by 1 point.
Oh my goodness me, James. It's going to be an absolute blast of a title contention. I'm really excited to get into proceedings. You know, there's so many kind of talking points to get into this, especially the circuit. It's going to be absolutely unbelievable. There you can see your top 3, you know, very much separated by very little. Daniel Malia on top with 112 with Christian Samet right behind him after his incredible successes of last time around at Goodwood, where he did take a win in the main race. Jonathan Spiteri coming home in with P3 with 105. David Miss was still in the hunt with Ayrton Birmingham after a bit of a poor round for his standards, dropping down to 5th place on 93. Then we have the best of the rest, John Paul Vella in P6 with 55, 52 for Owen Cassar. Denzel Agius, who had another poor round, he will not be happy with the way things have gone, so he'll be trying pulling himself back up into 6th. Job Files on De Bono on 24, Joero Mercheka, and then Spiteri, Orland, and Barbara rounding out your 14 entries into the Asphalt Kings Autobahn Legends series. I'm really excited to get into proceedings here, James.
Yeah. Absolutely, it should be an absolute crack of a race as well. Last time out, of course, we had our typical race and sprint race events here. We go to our first race of last time out in what was actually a very tumultuous time, wasn't it, to say the least, to be honest with you. Last time out at the Goodwood Motor Circuit, of course, of the Volkswagen Golfs themselves. Christian Samet came out on top for the main race. Malia came out in 2nd and Misford in 3rd. Spiteri finished in P4 in the end, in what turned out to be a race of extremely high aggression.
It did as well. Of course, the nature of that Goodwood circuit really invited some really close racing. You know, there was a lot of kind of infuriated drivers by the end of the race, but some important points were kind of really picked up there. You should see them top 3 looking really close. Spiteri managing to grab a 4th to John Paul Vella in 5th. Denzel Agius, I believe, had a mistake last time around. Joel Fels on De Bono in 7th, followed by Ayrton Birmingham and Owen Cassar Joero in P10 in that first race. And then, well, what about that second? So many dramatic moments happening overall. I think we may see a similar thing going into Sardinia. But yeah, take us away.
Going to be taking a very quick look at the sprint race results as well, with Owen Cassar coming out on top and over 2 seconds between him and David Misford, who's had a real bounce back. Has Misford now to P4 in the standings as a result of that one. Ayrton Birmingham finishing in P3, though, means that he's managed to just keep within touching distance of actually trying for a bit of a long shot of taking the title here tonight. Spiteri finishing a very lowly P4. A lot of questions about Spiteri's racecraft, I think, last time out as well. So lots of learning to take into Sardinia here tonight. Denzel Agius rounding out the top 5. JPV managing to get into the top 8. And excuse me, with Daniel Mallier up in P6, our championship leader, now only 1 point and 1 lap behind as a result of that poor race result, to say the least, with Chris Samet just tucking in behind the lap down as well. Keeps that points at all to just that singular point. We are, as we said, at Sardinia here tonight. We are racing, you know, at the final race of this championship. It's been a very, very long season, this one, despite it only being the 5 races, because there's so much learnings to take with these particular vehicles. Of course, the Autobahn legends. We're rounding it off here with the Mercedes-Benz. It's the E-Class 2.5 litre inline 6. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage this one. It's one of the older generations of cars. In fact, our second oldest, after the first ones at Watkins Glen when we raced in those BMW M3s all the way back in the 9th of March. Seems like an age ago, doesn't it? We are at Sardinia, though, as we said, and lots of learnings for this one. It's a 13-turn track with plenty of opportunities for overtaking, but it's such a low to medium speed circuit that the expectations here should fall in favour of the likes of Jonathan Spiteri, because he's been so aggressive and he's willing to go for those dives, I think, into the low speed corners.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Honestly, there's going to be so much kind of to investigate. There's so much riding on this event. These 2 races are going to be absolutely defining, especially knowing that there is a championship finale on. So watch out for pretty much every single driver, whether their aggression decides to really ramp up, if their aggression decides to or their caution comes to the wind. We'll have to really see about that. For almost 4 kilometers this circuit, and there's a lot of undulation on this one. There's a really it's such a roller coaster. You have a massive downhill section where the north of that circuit is, so prepare for a lot of roller coaster-esque type of maneuvers. You could really be able to see some lunges happening in towards kind of those more tightly packed corners. And then you're looking at the left-handed side, almost very reminiscent, especially when you're in the car, of what is, of course, Istanbul Turn 8, a really, really fast section. You'll probably just have to do a little bit of a half lift for that final kind of left-hander before going into a slower-ish hairpin. We're using the Mercedes-Benz, the 190E Evo 2 in this one with 230 horsepower, and here is a hot lap of the circuit. So you're going over the crest in toward the 100-meter board. You're just going to slam on the brakes, get the car rotated around before getting back on the power, and you're heading yourself through 2 and in toward 3. Just follow the road here before then trying to cut your way in towards that outside line. Then you're now going in towards turn number 4. Hard on the brakes, get the car rotating. Some drivers might want to use that outside line to give themselves a little bit of extra traction on the banked kind of areas. Through 5 we go, getting the car rotated once again. Some drivers may want to use that banked layout once again, but now we head down the hill. And this is where I said the north part of the circuit was. It's right downhill, going through that king. If anyone makes a little bit of rubbing through that king, that's going to cause a couple of issues. Now down in towards the hard right hander, we are going to have to really straighten the car up, get it under your own control, otherwise you don't really want a fishtaily rear. Then you're heading up the hill with the car, may struggle just a little bit, but it's only a 200 plus horsepower car, flicking it in towards the left. And this is what I'm talking about, the turn 8 of Istanbul S kind of route here, heading through the left, just getting onto the curb here. And now you're looking at squaring the car up, ready for this sequence of corners. Chuck the car in for then a little bit sideways. So that's going to be a massive part in qualifying, and then over the line for a lap here of Sardinia, the B layout. So I don't know about you, James, also, but I am super excited for this one. I think the track, the track introduction we just had gave it just that little bit more oomph. Qualifying is going to be incredibly important. One little mistake on your qualifying lap, in your all-important qualifying lap, you could be finding yourself right towards the back of the grid.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very critical indeed as well, especially with this particular car as well. I believe it's an inline 4, not an inline 6, and it was built by Mercedes in the 1980s. So the M102 engine provides its own little burst of power down that main straight. So thinking between turn 13 and 1, we should be in for an absolute cracker of a race ahead of us. Don't go away. We'll be crowning a champion in just a few short moments. We'll be here for just a few short moments before we get on with the main event here at Sardinia. One thing is for certain, the drivers are very, very keen to get on with this one here, because we have got 5 drivers that are in for a chance at the title hunt. We are expecting that potentially it'll be the front 2. We're thinking Daniel Mallier and Christian Samet separated, but just by that one singular point to be the ones that are going to be leading the way here. But Jonathan Spiteri is in the background knocking on the door. David Misford's in a good form. He could potentially get into that top 3. And of course, Ayrton Birmingham has a point to prove. He wants to defend a crown. So what is the situation report? Well, Daniel Mallier is the firm favourite for this one, but we know Jonathan Spiteri has been increasingly aggressive and certainly increasingly aggressive at the very early part of qualifying. He's the first one out.
Indeed, making a little bit of a statement, I think, before this session goes ahead. I think there's going to be a lot of tension here in Velocity Esports Racing HQ as our drivers now approach the circuit. So this is going to be pretty much their first taste at match push here. They would have explored the limits at a practice session earlier and looked at a Schneider livery already. Classic from the DTM Championship back in the 90s. Amazing stuff. So yeah, I expected kind of those liveries to be out there, but you know, it's such an incredibly stylish car, and one that, you know, as long as you kind of get the livery right, it's you know, it can be super flashy. You can't really go wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers are just now nursing the car around, just getting a bit of an understanding of the circuit. There is a little wind of around about just a little bit under 10 miles an hour going northeast at the moment, so that could pose a little bit of a challenge going through turns 2 and 3, but the expectations are surely that the drivers are just going to be able to manage this one without any issue. If you are new here and you want to know who your championship sort of challenges are for this one, you're looking out for the likes of Daniel Mallier, that's Daniel 31. You are looking for Chris Samet, it's Christian Samet in second place at the moment. You've got Jonathan Spiteri, that's JS19, David Misford, that's Potsy, down in P5, and Ayrton Birmingham, that's Ilmore, he's currently in 8th, but of course now the lap times are going to be getting on with it. Now here's one for you here, pardon me, it's Addicts, isn't it, for Ayrton Birmingham. By the way, though, these drivers getting very excited, as am I, at the moment for this one here. The Autobahn legends, Asphalt Kings, we're crowning a champion here tonight. The pressure must be on these 5.
It will be a lot of pressure, I think. You know, there's a little bit of tenseness going into a title decider, and especially, you know, when you have multiple rivals, it's even more difficult because, you know, you're looking absolutely everywhere. You're going to be in your mirrors more. Unless you really feel confident in the car, then you're going to be looking forward for the attack. It's just one of those where you've got to really manage yourself just that little bit more, and that extra pressure is where, you know, the boys become kings, and I really think that's going to be kind of the power motive for tonight's event. Of course, we do have a 10-minute qualifying session ahead of us, so already about to hit 3 minutes into the session, which means 7 remaining. Already Jonathan Spiteri right up there at the top of the leaderboard with Christian Samet, Ayrton Birmingham, and I think that's Adrian Mercieka in P4. So if that is true pace there from Adrian Mercieka, he's really put the cat amongst the pigeons, to say the least here. But again, it will be Jonathan Spiteri just ahead through, currently sitting on 105 points in the title race here. We'll go over the line, and let's see those fast laps come in here, James.
Yeah, let's see these first lap times coming in then. JS19, of course, first set in the lap time with a 34.3. Ayrton Birmingham is a 34.8. Chris Samet's well down the field with a 35.1. Other lap times as Denzel Adjus goes up to P4 overall. Our championship leader's only in P5, but we've got plenty of qualifying yet to happen, of course, with just a little bit over half of the time remaining. We've got Falzando Bono up to P3. Great effort from him as well. And this is an opportunity for those that aren't in the championship to potentially make some decent inroads. There's no pressure on them, and they could capitalise where others may end up making a mistake.
Yeah, speaking of mistakes, Joel Falzando Bono taking a dip into the gravel. You don't really see that too often, so that's going to require a little bit of an adjustment through there. You know, you're going to have to tip the car in, but you know, not too hard, because you look at that sequence. If you look at the bottom of your map there, that's kind of turn 1 in towards turns 2 and 3. That's a whole sequence you've got to go through. So if you're not really, you know, hitting that first apex, you're not going to set up for 2 and 3 that well. So some really good stuff so far at the moment. Spiteri has really found an upper hand here. Remember, no points for qualifying, so if you get on pole, it means, you know, absolutely diddly squat in terms of championship points here, but still sitting over half a second in front of Ayrton Birmingham. Now, we're just having a look there. Is that a Denzel Adjis with a half a second penalty? Now, that is going to be served, I believe, right down the main straight here. Actually, in fact, there. So it kills your momentum before you get to the main straight.
Yeah, remember, of course, that when you're serving those slowdown penalties, it's not just serving the slowdown. That's the problem. You lose all that momentum, as you said, as you go all the way down towards turn one, which is going to prove to be more of the challenge. Daniel Malia finding his mojo, going up to P2, just tucking in behind Jonathan Spiteri. His main battle here tonight, though, is more than likely going to be with the person in P2 in the standings, in Chris Samet. He's currently down in P6 at the moment, so a little bit of learnings to be made here for the man currently in P6. He's 8/10 down on JS19 Jonathan Spiteri, but critically though, he actually is sort of within touching distance, around 3/10 of Daniel Malia. So as it stands so far, Jonathan Spiteri is showing some serious pace, and he's throwing everything and the kitchen sink at trying to get this title tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Just having a look at the timings there, just less than 7/10 of a second, separating the top five. Only two of our title contenders outside that 134 zone. One of them is the white and yellow car. You're looking at here, Christian Samet doing 135.1, so almost over 8/10 of a second off, in fact, what Jonathan Spiteri has done. But remember, there's still some pretty early stages, but this is the part where you've really got to get the hammer down. The other driver down there is Potsy, called David Mifsud, who's 1.1 seconds off Jonathan Spiteri's time. So there'll be a lot to kind of think about in these moments. They cast their way over the timing line. Will there be any form of improvements? Not to my notes, and far from, I think there's been a small improvement by somebody up there. That might have been Daniel Malia, we're seeing, who's in a little bit of a train at the moment with seems to be David Mifsud in front and Denzel Adjis behind.
Yeah, David Misford, our fourth place man in the championship, currently P8 overall at the moment with a 35.4. He's a little bit down here. 3 minutes to go in this session here, so these lap times starting to get a little bit more critical here. Critically, though, Jonathan Spiteri set that first lap, that 34.303, at his second time of asking, but he hasn't improved since then. So, yeah, he's an absolute blinder of a lap, but because he's not improving, as the track becomes less green and more rubber is laid down, that might offer an opportunity for the likes of Ayrton Birmingham, I'm thinking Daniel Malia, maybe even Joel D'Alfonso Del Bono at the moment. He's having an absolute cracker of a qualifying so far to potentially close down that gap a little bit and put a little bit of pressure on those front runners. And remember, with those that are not in the title, they've got no pressure whatsoever, so they'll be happy to swallow up any positions that are lost for their own little battle in the championship.
There is. We still have a look around. We've just got over 2 minutes remaining left on the clock here. So we can only watch our drivers making their way around through the final corner. Ayrton Birmingham getting all squiggly out there. Look at Adrian.
Oh, Samet.
Sorry, that's Adrian Macieka in all of that. So Samet's going to go straight on through, see if he can potentially close that gap down, and he does. Go up to third place. Great lap there from Christian Samet, really pulling himself out of the depths of difficult positioning here, and now puts some pressure here, I think, on David Mifsud down there in P7. He's still 8/10 of a second off, so can't seem to improve. It takes a while to get these tyres up to temperature, but now they're just going through some of the heat cycles in this one, where they're just having to push away and push away.
The infamous M102 engine, the inline four, powering these people around the circuit at the moment. And Christian Samet, I'll be honest with you, that final corner at 13, he lost the rear end, so I think he probably left a little bit of time at the table at the final corner, so he actually might be putting Malia under a little bit of pressure. Gap around about 4/10 of a second between the front two at the moment. We're following David Mifsud in the 7th place man, as he is now following actually Ayrton Birmingham here. A little bit of a get that apex as early as you can. Don't be afraid to take some of the grass on that entry, but in the end, just elected to be a little bit more conservative at the moment. Is the previous Asphalt King. He is now heading his way towards turn 12, turn number 13. The former Asphalt King himself, with a lot to prove. This season's been very up and down for this defending champion, but he'll come back stronger next time.
Indeed he will. Over the timing beam we go, 20 seconds left on the clock to get those cars over the line. So they're just approaching the last lap. Now, who is that right at the back? I'd love to know who's at the back of that train, because they might not be able to make it here. Just having a look, that's not Joel Falzon de Bono. That's not entirely sure. We're just having a wait. Here we go. It is Owen Cassar. Has Owen Cassar made it to the line? It's my question. He hasn't, apparently.
No, he hasn't. You can see there the flashing lights of his indicators indicating that he is of a hazard on circuit because he's slow. So he missed out on that one as well. Bad timing from Owen Cassar. That's our man currently, where is he in the standings at the moment? 7th place overall after overtaking Denzel Adjus. So he'll start all the way down at the back in P10. So that's disappointing to say the least. Let's go back towards the front here because the action is all about, though, all of those towards the front. Now, Jonathan Spiteri hasn't improved, and he's not going to improve on this occasion either, with a half a second penalty. So opportunity knocks for our championship leader, and maybe even our championship competitors here. Christian Samet now up to P4. Good effort indeed. Who's going to be one of the first runners here? We'll keep an eye on Ayrton Birmingham, because he's the one going now through the top end of turn 11. He'll now approach through the kink of 12 and 13, as Ayrton Birmingham now will be wanting to try and at least put some pressure on losing the rear, and that is his with a tank slapper. That lap's done and dusted. Christian Samet, please, director. He's going to be the next person across the line. He might even get a toe off of the back of Ayrton Birmingham's mistake as well as David Mifsford. As he approaches the line, will be any improvement? Oh, he's on the front row as he's beaten immediately by David Mifsford. He's in that title hunt here. Denzel Adjus, great qualified for P4. Mania straight to the front row, up to P2 in the end. And look at the margin, 45 thousandths of a second separating those runners. Where's Jonathan Spiteri in all of this one? It won't even matter. His second lap was what mattered, and he's on pole.
Unbelievable stuff there from the entire grid. Apparently there was a penalty there for one of our drivers. We'll get an update on that one. But it is going to be Jonathan Spiteri on pole position, I believe taking his first of the series. Then we find Daniel Malia up there in second, with David Mifsud in third, Christian Samet in P4. So just updating that. Denzel Adjus P5, Ayrton Birmingham lowers of the championship contenders in P6, with Joel Falzon de Bono in P7, and Adrian Merciek in P8 there. It was Jonathan Spiteri with a penalty. Osber Zwereb in P9, and Owen Cassar rounding off the top 10 there, and the grid. 5 rows we will have attacking this Sardegna circuit. And my goodness, James Otter, that was really, really intense.
Really intense indeed. We've got a race in just a few short moments. Don't go away. Let's wrap up this championship with race number 1. Well, as it stands so far at the moment, anyway, if the race finishes the way that it's going to be qualifying at the moment, Jonathan Spiteri will climb to P2 in the standings on 129 points. Daniel Malia will still be champion, but only by 2 points. That's the difference between Jonathan Spiteri and Daniel Malia, is just the 2 points. They are very keen to get on with this one here, with the drivers now making their way down towards that start-finishing line. Let's begin our final race weekend of the Autobahn Legends Asphalt Kings and crown a champion. No more waiting. Let's go racing then here at Sardegna. JS then gets a decent start, does Jonathan Spiteri here. Daniel Malia is going to use the toe, but everyone else will be following in traction as they head their way towards turn 1. Opportunity knocks here. This is a circuit that is certainly going to benefit Jonathan Spiteri's aggressive racing style, but at the end of the day, right behind him is a championship leader and a championship winner in waiting, and he'll keep applying all that pressure as much as he can.
Really well. That's where you've got to really earn your buck here around this circuit. You know, you've got to be putting pressure on the drivers in front, really force them to be looking in their mirrors. You get them looking behind you. Press that button to stare down the rear wing and see your car in the rear view mirror. Now, Daniel Malia will be pushing on here, but of course he's got David Mifsud right in behind as well. So, you know, he's just going to keep his eyes forward at the moment. There's a little bit of a gap between forming between him and Christian Samet here, with Denzel Adjis wanting to get in on the mix, heading through the roller coaster sequence, heading on towards the next right-hander, really looking forward to any single opportunity they can possibly present itself. But I think it might be a little bit of a slow burner in this 30-minute race.
Yeah, of course, everyone going to be on the sport medium tyre here, so everyone will be wanting to just try and nurture their tyres, get them warmed up a little bit, because of course it is the harder of the two compounds. Our sprint race following is only the 20-minute race on the soft tyres, so that's where we would expect people to go for the more rash moves. But Jonathan Spiteri at the moment doesn't have to do any rash moves, because of course he's leading. But I tell you what, David Mifsud had an absolute blinder of a first start here. He's putting the championship leader under some significant pressure. The man currently P4 in the standings will still finish P4 if the race was to finish the way that it was so far, but he might go for the dive going into one. It's a 90-degree corner. Going for the dive is certainly more than possible, but Daniel Malia braking a lot later in this one, as it looks like Dave Misford willing to just hold back a little bit.
Yeah, of course, no kind of dramatic moves wanted to be made at the minute. You know, you've still got to bear in mind you've got a whole 28 minutes to go. So, you know, don't be throwing any kind of rash moves in these early stages. You've got tyres to protect, you've got a little bit of fuel to protect. Well, there's not going to be any fuels or tyre changes, no pit stops whatsoever in this race. You're still having to maybe, you know, save up your bank, save up your arsenal for a later stage, and hopefully not bottle it towards the end here. Samet is going to be on the attack here. He's going to look right in the between the rear wing here of David Mifsud. He turns his way up the hill, and it's going to be a bit of a moment. Kick of the gravel there. Someone's wide. That's going to be Denzel Adge having a moment. Someone else having a moment. That's Joel Falzon de Bono having a big old tank slapper. He's fallen down the field, and I think there's also been a penalty there for Osbert Schwedeb.
Yeah, difficult stuff in that midfield, of course. Now, remember, they're starting towards the front in the sprint race here, so they have got an opportunity to earn some big points off the back of that one, but it's all about that battle towards the front at the moment as it stands. Anyway, this continues as it was qualifying at the moment between our front five in the championship. As it stands, Daniel Malia will be going into the sprint race, continuing as the championship leader, but it'll only be by a couple of points to Jonathan Spiteri at the moment. So this is exactly what Spiteri needs to do if he wants to be a champion here. Win this one, but then he needs an immaculate sprint race. He's not going to be winning championships if he keeps going that wide, though, and it looks like Daniel Malia is going to continue putting that pressure on as they head the way towards turn 4. He's got that inside line. Can we go on board with him, actually, because Daniel Malia is getting particularly close here, and Jonathan Spiteri, I think for the first time, we're starting to see the cracks of a man who has been particularly aggressive in this championship, and he's starting to feel the pressure from our championship leader, who's just gone purple.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tense at these early stages, but you know, he's going to be leading the race. That's the prime positioning that you want to be in, because you know, you're only looking forward. You just got to kind of focus on yourself. You know, the only thing you've got to kind of really fear is the element of surprise from your rival here. So you know, no need to kind of look back for now. Yes, Malia's going, you know, pretty aggressively. He's going to look to the outside, see if we can potentially put the car in there, but Spiteri just goes, nope, absolutely no, you don't. You're not putting your car in there. But that kind of opens up that inside line, but a bit of a poor run for Malia, not quite getting the same that they would hope for. But now he's just going to be sitting in that slipstream down in towards turn number 1. He's got to get a crucial exit off this corner here, James.
Yeah, 2.5 litre inline 4 powering these cars here tonight. Down towards turn 1 they go, using that toe. Malia had an absolute blinder of a lap on this one, but has given Jonathan Spiteri a little bit of breathing room from a lap that he's certainly feeling the pressure on. No surprises, he's got the purple lap as the championship leader, as he looks to potentially continue getting all up in his wing mirrors going into turn 1, and he can see how much later on the brakes the championship leader is, and yet he can still hit the apex a lot sooner than Jonathan Spiteri at the moment. Our pole sitter, certainly feeling all the pressure from our championship leader at the moment as he heads his way now all the way around turn 3 now, heading into turn 4. Not an overtaking zone here at turn 4, but you can set yourself up for a lunge at the large hairpin of turn 5, and he's certainly looking for it here. He could go down that inside if he wants to, but on this occasion, again, willing to just hold station. Jonathan Spiteri going for the later break around the inside to have that outside, but it means he's going to risk that getting up on the gravel. All of the stones being thrown onto the ground rather, as he now heads his way. Is he going to look for it going into the turn 8 corner? This is an overtaking spot. It's going to be a late breaker from the championship leader, but elects in the end not to do it as Jonathan Spiteri caught himself out a little bit. He certainly has. He can't get on the throttle. Malia is throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the moment at our pole sitter, and Jonathan Spiteri is feeling that pressure.
He absolutely is, and I wonder how long that is going to be potentially lasting here, because it looks like for me, he's just sitting there. He's just going to be that annoying rash you just can't seem to be able to get rid of. Now, a brilliant exit here from Daniel Malia sitting in the secretary. Now you can see Spiteri with the body language of that car is feeling pressured. Here we go. Malia will glide on through here using a little bit of side drive. He's going to have to do a little bit of late braking in towards turn number 1. But Spiteri is coming back. He's just going to narrow the opportunities that Malia has. And look at this. Mifsud is going to be inviting himself in the into the battle. Hopefully that letter does arrive into the mailbox very, very soon. We could be seeing a three-car battle for this lead.
Yeah, I think the only way that Malia is going to be able to get past Jonathan Spiteri, again, a man who's been particularly aggressive in this particular championship, is just to lick the stamp and send it at the moment here. But will Daniel Malia go for that one on this occasion, or is that too much of a risk when he is a championship leader? As it stands so far, will be only leading this championship going into the sprint race by 2 points. And of course, remember, he will start in front of Jonathan Spiteri for the sprint race. So that is also something to consider, because he'll especially be quite aggressive, with the man now leading this race. At turn 8 they go. Daniel Malia electing not to put any pressure at the moment on our pole sitters. Jonathan Spiteri again willing to get in the gravel trap quite a bit at the moment, is the man in P1, but I think he's finding that the grip is certainly not going to be there.
No, it's not going to be out on those gravel traps or the grass whatsoever. So, if you're Jonathan Spiteri, you're just going to continue with what you're doing. Maybe fix up on some of the errors that are maybe leading to you being able to, get put under pressure here. He's had a little bit of a dip into the grass once again, finding himself at just about half a second in his hands here. Again, we're just having a little bit further back here. Ayrton Birmingham and Christian Sammer having their own little private ding-dong here, 4th and 5th. They kind of lost a little bit of pace. We've just really seen how fast Spiteri and, of course, Daniel Malia have been. But it's going to be about that second race now. If we're kind of sitting in this position, I think it's just going to be so close to do so. You're just looking at a previous races gone by in this season. We've had Owen Kassar win a race, a driver who's, been right outside the podium places, went on to win last time out at Goodwood, where it invited a lot of opportunities. So, maybe we might go back to Watkins Glen, where they just got stuck. So if you can overtake around here, that's going to be absolutely massive to the second race, and big championship points will be awarded.
Yeah, turn 1, turn 8, typically the sort of hot spots for the racing, but you can go side by side, as we saw a little bit earlier on between these two here, Daniel Malia and Jonathan Spiteri. The pair of them at the moment are our front two in the championship as it stands. Christian Sammer will lose his second place and will fall to P3, down to 123 points. He'll be 8 points off the lead, 6 points behind John Spiteri for the championship going into the main race. But of course, remember, he didn't qualify as well, so at least in the sprint race he'll have a little bit of an advantage on that one. So if he can at least get past here Ayrton Birmingham, then maybe he'll have a bit of a chance here going for this title. It looks for it potentially going into turn 1. He's getting a toe, but it doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere near a move at turn 1, so it might be turn 8 he's going to have to eye it up for, but he's just got to keep all over the back of our former Asphalt King.
Indeed, a lot of pressure coming on to the back here of Ayrton Birmingham here, because Christian Sam is going to be wanting those little couple points here. That would put him currently on 121.
Whoa.
But if he can make this move, 123, which is adding another step towards potential championship glory. I had some Birmingham trying to go to the outside. He trying to cause a little bit of trouble in this little tussle between two off-title contenders, but he's had a little bit of a dip into towards the gravel, which is not going to help his cause. He's got to just set back in towards the rear wing of Christian Sam here. We now look back here with our leading trio.
Yeah, of course, great report at the moment. We're going into this one. Daniel Mallia still leading the championship by 2 points to Jonathan Spiteri. Chris Samet will be down to 10 points, the difference between him and the championship leader, and 8 points behind Jonathan Spiteri. David Misford is only 6 points behind Christian Samet as it stands, in Ayrton Birmingham will finally get into the 100 points. He'll get 105 for his 4th place situation, but he's under all sorts of pressure at the moment from Christian Samet, who needs those extra couple of points to at least give him a little bit of a breathing space for the sprint race, rather, in just a little bit under 20 minutes time. 11 and a half minutes gone then, so we've just about under 20 minutes left in this main race here. As it stands so far, Jonathan Spiteri just finding a little bit more comfort. Mallia not putting him under too much pressure, but he will come back.
So we're now hit over a third of the race here. We're about to hit that 12th minute mark, which almost goes into halfway distance here. And there's still some just a little bit of waiting around here, I'd say. Mali is not wanting to immediately attack. He's willing to just assess what Jonathan Spiteri is doing. The track temperatures have got a little bit cold. You see the clouds have overloomed the Sardegna circuit, so I don't know if these are sunlight or it might just be cloud is starting to loom over. I'm going to blame it on sunlight, so apologies to whoever thought it was hopeful on maybe some rain here, but yeah, I can affirm you that we are in very sunny Italy, and I don't think it really rains at the kind of time it's going to be set here. But our top 3 still going at each other, just doing a couple jabs here and there, but wait till the real hits come along.
Yeah, worth keeping an eye on there, as Daniel Mallia losing the rear at 12. That's not going to help his case against Jonathan Spiteri, who's just finding his mojo now. He's setting lap times in the 95, 96 second marker at the moment, and he's actually gone purple so far. So finding some serious comfort now out there is Jonathan Spiteri in these 2.5 litre inline 4 Mercedes-Benz 790. This is the E-Series the E-Class rather, from 1991. Situation report then for all of these runners as it stands. As I said, is Daniel Mallia is still leading this championship, as Christian Samet up to P4, trying his hardest to defend from Denzel Agius, who's flying at the moment out here. We do know his race pace is better than his qualifying, but they're still side by side. It's important Christian Samet holds on to this position here because he needs those extra couple of points. 12 points for 4th, 10 for 5th. Around the outside he's going to have to go though, and I tell you what, fabulous bit of defending here from Christian Samet. That's why he is at the moment a championship hopeful, as he now dives his way through turn 5. He stays in P4, but Denzel Agius and Ayrton Birmingham are all over the back of him at the moment.
You probably heard me clacking away, just trying to work out what the championship contention is going to be at the moment. Here is Denzel Agius once again trying to go on the attack. The driver who sits currently 8th in the standings after missing Gilles Villeneuve and having a bit of a difficult time at Blue Moon Bay. And I think the first race at Goodwood was very a bitter pill to swallow for him, but it would start to climb up the hill here and on towards that final sequence of corners. You've got to try and get out of the throttle there to get the car on the racing circuit. Through the last corner you go. Will he be able to get a run on Christian Samet this time? Samet feeling the pressure with the body language of the car, pulling right to the right hand side and trying to just break that toe immediately. The wind now going northeast, I believe, of the circuit. So that will give him a little bit of a crosswind through this through that middle section.
Yeah, going to be important here as well because you got the 4.2 meters per second, around about 9 miles an hour. So it is a little bit gusty going in that northeasterly direction, and that could offer more of a challenge in these cars, which are quite large. Remember, they are saloons, technically speaking, these cars. So they are very much going to feel the effects of the wind for certain here. Back towards that battle for the front here, you can see Daniel Malia losing even more ground at the moment to Jonathan Spiteri, who's still setting some seriously quick lap times out here at the moment. My maths as it stands so far anyway, with Jonathan Spiteri leading the way, Daniel Malia in P2, you've got David Misford in third, Christian Samet in fourth, and Ayrton Birmingham in sixth. Means that as it stands so far, Daniel Malia will still lead this championship by 2 points going into the sprint race from Jonathan Spiteri. Then you've got Christian Samet, who's going to be 8 points behind. Someone's got off at the back there. Is it Chris Samet? I think it was Chris Samet. That's critical in the championship.
Yep, it is. That's going to drop him a whole another 4 points in this title race. And how crucial is that going to be to proceedings? I really question if that's going to be, how defining is that going to be for him? Because now we see Denzel Adjus in P4, Ayrton Birmingham now sitting in P5 after all of that. I'll probably need to change up the positioning on the standing just to give you a better idea. But again, our top two still going right at it, still again jabs at the moment, but again, we're over halfway into this race. I think there's going to be a bit of a tempo change at this stage.
Yeah, 10 points now is the difference between Christian Samet and Jonathan Spiteri. 12 overall as it stands between him and Daniel Malia at the top of the standings. That mistake at turn 8, I was about to mention, to be fair, turn 8 could be a little bit of a critical one here, because if you end up going out too wide there, what you'll end up finding is the gravel trap pulls you out of the circuit, and that's exactly what Christian Samet's felt, and now he's down in P6. His saving grace, qualified performance was a little far in comparison to others around him, so he will at least have an outside shot of getting some big points in the sprint race. Of course, 18 for the race victory, 15 for second, 12 for third. So he's still got an outside shot chance, even with the sprint race wide. So keep an eye out on that one. But as it stands so far, you've got Ayrton Birmingham, who wants to get in there with Denzel Adjus. And I tell you what, he gave him absolutely precise space there, did Denzel Adjus, enough to not to avoid a crash, but certainly a situation to keep him all in racing, and a little bit out wide he goes there. Ayrton Birmingham still relegated to P5. Great stuff so far between these two. It's been great racing.
It really has. Been mighty impressed with kind of everyone in this one. You know, you're just trying to really push on forward as well. It looks like at the moment Ayrton Birmingham will be out of the championship standings after this race. Even if he overtakes Denzel Adjus, that will only take him to 105 points, meaning he's 26 points back on Daniel Malia. That is not enough. You have 18 for a win in this second race here. Denzel Adjus will just try and continue to push on forward. I think he's trying to really make a statement. There is at some stage there is a championship looming here for Denzel Adjus. I don't know which game it will be, don't know what season it will be, I don't know what championship it will be, but at some point there is a championship waiting for this man. He's just got to try and string a season together, which is you know, it's very difficult. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, still easier said than done. You just got to keep an eye out and see how Denzel Adjus is going to try his hardest over the next couple maybe a couple of rounds of GT racing. I'm just keeping an eye on that battle at the moment with Ayrton Birmingham. I'm also keeping a firm eye on Daniel Malia at the moment as well, because his pace has really started to fall off a little bit here, and I'm wondering if he's just deciding, I'm not going to battle too hard with Jonathan Spiteri. I'm still going to be the championship leader going into the sprint race. However, he's going to be under all sorts of pressure from a man who's been increasingly aggressive, and now only 2 points behind him in the standings going into the sprint race. And bearing in mind, Jonathan Spiteri starting at the back in front of Daniel Malia.
Indeed. So at the moment, Samet and Mifsud, they're going to have to be victors in this race if they want any chance. In the next race at this moment, as time stands, if they want any chance of winning this title. So we might be just slimming it down here It's Daniel Malia and Jonathan Spiteri. 1 and 2 they run in this race. And of course, Spiteri coming in as our reigning Asphalt King. Will he be handing that crown over tonight, or will he be retaining it for another season? Because at the moment he stands at just 2 points behind Daniel Malia. So he just now needs to sit in this position for the next 10 minutes to go and claim a big 24 points to proceedings. But battles will kind of reign around the circuit. What is happening there for the 4th, 5th and 6th? I thought that I'd close up just that little bit here, because Dens is going to be keeping under pressure here from Ayrton Birmingham. Ayrton Birmingham trying to force Denzel Adjus into a mistake, which is exactly what he's done. Dens off into the gravel, and oh, here comes Christian Salmon to go into the back there, in fact, of Dens.
Yeah, brilliant racing. That is not racing from the mindset that is there from Ayrton Birmingham, and that's the reason why he's a previous occupant of the Asphalt King's crown, because he's able to play with the mind games of the other people, and that may offer at least some kind of a reprieve for Christian Samet here. If he could put Denzel Adjus under continued pressure after that mistake, he might have an outside chance of at least getting 10 points rather than the 6, rather than the 8 that he's going to get for this race as it currently stands. A little bit under 10 minutes to go in this race as it stands. Advantage to Jonathan Spiteri, with Daniel Malia still quite a ways away from him at the moment. It's all going to be about that midfielder here. Will Christian Samet be able to even hold on to P3, or is Potsy going to have an outside chance of potentially claiming P3 as it stands? The gap between them two is 4 points as it stands.
Owen Cassage just drops a penalty to his name. The man who's come from the back of the field qualified P10 after that qualifying session has managed to gain 3 places, but it's a little bit of no man's land for him. He's over 4.5 seconds, almost 5 seconds with Joel Balzon de Bono behind him, still over 2 seconds at the back of Christian Salmon. Just hasn't seemed to be able to match the pace. So I wonder if that may be an early indication into what we're going to be seeing for that second race. So maybe these drivers in kind of the midfield areas of Salmon, of Denzel Adjus, of Ayrton Birmingham may have a little bit of an advantage compared to the likes of Spiteri and Malia, who will be plopped right onto the back row. As long as nobody retired, which nobody has, it could be that these guys start at the back of the grid, really struggle to make it up. You remember, we've shortened the race down to 20 minutes, which could make all the difference, and maybe have a title winner down in 7th or something.
Yeah, so the question is will we see a new champion, or will we see a defending champion retain his crown at the moment? As it stands so far, by only 2 points, we're getting a new champion in Daniel Malia. This is the man we're following right now. Gap 2.5 seconds, though, to his nearest rival in the title hunt as it stands so far, as JS19 Jonathan Spiteri, currently P2 overall, with the 2 points separating them on 129. Daniel Malia 131. They're heading their way around the circuit right now at turn 4, heading their way towards turn 5. A critical set of corners here, turn 5, because this is where we start to see people line themselves up, potentially get a bit of side-by-side action as they head into the 90-degree corner that is turn 8, where we've seen multiple people try for moves, some people going far too wide and getting themselves off the gravel, being spat out wide, and end up losing a bucket of positions.
So we just wait in time now, because Jonathan Spiteri has managed to bridge that gap 2.5 seconds. In fact, over 2.5 seconds. Daniel Malia setting purple sectors is Jonathan Spiteri. I think he's throwing me back to an event I went to in November, setting purple sectors. Fantastic event, but we'll mention that maybe another time. Sam is still pressurizing Denzel Adjus here in P5 and 6 here, so they will be continuing to fight this. I think this one's going to go all race long, with just under 6 minutes left to go. The sun is very much back out, so it's probably maybe starting to get to around sunset here in this moment in time. So Sam will just continue to press on now, but I don't think this championship is over whatsoever. We still got another race left to go, and I think Malia is just trying to secure himself for the second race. No need to try and make an error here, but you know, he's got to also look behind him, because what if David misses senses of blood and go for an opportunity?
Yeah, my main concern as well is that Jonathan Spiteri was starting at the back of the grid for the sprint race as well. We've seen how aggressive he has been throughout this championship, and with a championship on the hunt and he's behind, I would suspect he's going to throw everything in the kitchen sink at that sprint race, especially with the race pace he's got in the main race on these medium tyres. Here's Chris Sammet, man who's just trying to find his mojo again after making that mistake at turn 8. Will we now want to try and prevent the legend and take off that little mistake that he made, obviously battling with that Birmingham at to get there. Turn 8, both drivers struggled at that corner. Now they'll continue as they head their way towards turn 8. Will there be any kind of move from Christian Sammet? It would be a very late breaker if he were to do so. I wouldn't suspect on this occasion it's there, but he's certainly going to keep up that pressure at the moment off the back of Denzel Agius' Mercedes as he heads his way now down around the final sector. As it stands so far, Christian Sammet will still be 10 points behind Jonathan Spiteri, 12 off the lead, and only 4 in front of David Mifsford as it stands.
So with just over 4 minutes remaining here, what are we kind of expecting? I think this race is, you know, arguably gone a little bit stale here, but I think Denzel Agius and Christian Sammet are still, you know, very much hot on each other's heels here. Sammet will be wrestling that car to try and secure any sorts of points here and just pull himself back to within 10 for the title here. I think if he can really put himself in 5th place, he's got a great shot at the title, especially if overtaking becomes this difficult in a stage like this. I think we will really see in the second phase of that second race, overtaking becoming a little bit more difficult. So we might have another situation where Owen Kassar goes and takes another win. Speaking of Kassar, he's I think dropped right back. He's down in P9, P10, one of those positions. But you know, there's been some real big efforts, I'd say, throughout this race. But you know, that champ, I think everyone's kind of awaiting on that second race as the checker flag will be coming out in 3 minutes time.
Yeah, worth making note as well, as it stands so far, Ayrton Birmingham will be out of the championship. He's 26 points behind Daniel Malia when this race result ends. So with only 18 on the line for the sprint race, if everyone was to DNF, the highest that he will be able to finish, if my math works it out right, will be P3. So that will be that for Ayrton Birmingham as it stands. But we will still have 4 drivers still with a chance of winning the title, which is completely unheard of in a 2-race sort of season. I think it's magnificent to say the least. Gap now well over 2.5 seconds between Jonathan Spiteri and Daniel Malia, flying high at the moment. His fastest lap on the 15th tour of the circuit is now on his 18th tour with a little bit over 2 minutes to go here. Daniel Malia just trying to, I think, just bring the car home here now.
Yep, I think that's the best way to go about things here at the moment, because Jonathan Spiteri is right now in a solitary place. You know, he's got 2.5 seconds here to Daniel Malia. Malia's not really got anything in his mirrors, not really much in front of him to go and chase, unless there's a late race error from any of these 3. You know, I can't really see too much coming out of this. There's been some really competitive lap time being made by all of them. Pace is so good, especially those front 2. I think we've got to really credit Jonathan Spiteri and Daniel Malia in this one. But again, Christian Sammet is all over the back of Denzel Agius, but just cannot simply find a move anywhere.
Yeah, if he wants to give himself at least an outside chance of winning this title here, he really could do with getting P5 out of the hands of Denzel Agius. You can see Chris Sammet going a little bit wider 8 once again. He's feeling that pressure. He knows he hasn't got long left, just under 60 seconds left in this race before the checkered flag comes out. As it stands, he will be falling 12 points behind the leader and drops to P3 overall. If he gets P5, it'll at least only be 10 points behind, and that it will be, at least if he can get on the podium, he still has a chance of potentially winning this title. But with every passing corner, Chris Sammet, for that one mistake at turn 8 earlier on, senses this championship might just be slipping away from him. One person that we do know it's slipping away from, as it stands so far anyway, Ayrton Birmingham. He will be out of the title hunt as it stands, 30 seconds left.
Yep, indeed, and now we have a look here with Christian Sammet. He's got to do something about this around the outside. It's going to be Brave using a little bit of the banking, trying to just close off the nose there
Fabulous.
of Denzel Adjus, and that's a brilliant move there from Christian Sammer. That could be one to put him right in the contention for this title. We spoke about the overtaking opportunities around this circuit. They seem pretty limited after quite a while. The dark clouds have rolled in, so I wonder if this could potentially be an omen to what we're seeing in the second race here, or maybe a fear of the drivers out on that race course. But that was a big move here from Sammer. If he can get a great launch here, he could really make something happen. He'll be starting 6th on the grid at this current moment stands.
Yeah, well, we've got Jonathan Spiteri coming around the final corner then. He will be the race victor for this one here. It never really looked in doubt, did it? He showed all that pace from start to finish. And with the checkered flag now out on the 19th tour of this circuit, he flashes those headlights in celebration. He is a man now P2 in the standings and only 2 points behind this man, Daniel Malia. And they will take it all the way to the sprint race. Dave Misford finishes in P3. He's now P4 in the standings and only 6 points behind Christian Sammer, who now managing to rise up the standings, will at least have an outside chance of staying in this title hunt. Meanwhile, this man, Ayrton Birmingham, is out of the title hunt now. He's officially 26 points behind Daniel Malia, and that is his title hopes done. We're down to 4. And then we've got Joel Velzo de Bono finishing in the end in P7. Sean Cassar with a half a second penalty to apply at the end of this one will finish in P8. Won't matter though, because Adrian Zoom is too far behind, finishing in P9. Osrit Swereb was a lap behind. He finishes in P10. We have a sprint race ahead of us in just a few short moments time, with Jonathan Spiteri got the pace, but he's still down in P2 overall. Daniel Malia still leading this championship, but as it stands for now, Jonathan Spiteri takes that pace all the way to the sprint.
Indeed, here is your final classification. Jonathan Spiteri will be in P1 here. Daniel Malley with the fastest lap in P2. Then it will be, of course, David Mifford in 3rd, followed by Ayrton Birmingham. A strong showing from him tonight. He'll be hoping to maybe push up a little bit further. Then comes Christian Sammer in P5. Denzel Adjus, unfortunate mistake there right at the end, saw him fall back to P6 with Joel Falzon de Bono in P7. A little bit of an unfortunate showing there for John Falzon de Bono. Hasn't really been able to make an impact on this one. Owen Cassar, too many penalties, drops down to 8th with Adrian Mercieka in P9, and rounding out with Osbert Zwereb in his Mercedes. We still have a second race here, James, but that first race, there was a lot of intent. I just don't think we got kind of the final package in that one. I think there was a lot of tentativeness in those early stages, and we just saw drivers really preserving themselves once they got towards the end.
Yeah, problem is Christian Sammer P2 in the standings overall now drops to P3 after finishing P5 overall. But nonetheless, our top 5 in the championship all finished in the top 5. Now they start at the back as the bottom 5 as they head into the sprint race. Don't go away. We'll be back for our final race of this championship. We're crowning a champion after this. We're just moments away from crowning a new champion here for the Asphalt Kings Autobahn Legends. It's an absolute blinder of a main race. Of course, we saw just a real mixed bag out there as well. Our second place one in the standings finished in P5. Our leader in the championship finished P2. The man in P3 finished in P1. Down towards the back, we've lost Ayrton Birmingham. He will no longer be in contention for winning the title now, but you've still got David Misford with an outside chance of winning this title. He's 16 points behind. He needs the race victory, though, to do that one. It's myself and Adam Reed for this one here. Very quickly, Adam, we're going into our sprint race imminently. What is the food for thought going into this one?
I think initially we're going to expect fireworks. I think a lot of drivers will potentially go a little bit aggressive. I think there'll be a bit of caution to the wind, especially with those championship contenders, which I said right at the beginning of the broadcast. You know, there's so many kind of factors to go about this. So, of course, shortening the race to 10 minutes, putting a reverse grid just really involves chaos. But I think if we go to something like Watkins Glen, we won't be able to see a lot from our title contender. They'll be batting amongst themselves. But if we see something like Goodwood, there'll be all guns blazing. I think there's going to be, you know, a big duality between both those races, and one of the sides is going to be the flip side of the coin.
Of course, remember, Jonathan Spiteri, our pole sitter for the main race, will be starting at the back of the grid here tonight. So as a result of that one, he will need to make some inroads as quickly as he possibly can at a circuit that's actually proved to be a little bit more challenging to commit to those overtakes. But the drivers are on the grid getting themselves ready for that very tightly close pit battle as they now head their way out of the final corner towards turn number 1. This is our final race. We are going to be crowning a champion in just 20 minutes time. Oscar Schwerer will be leading the way. No more waiting. Let's go racing. Our final race in Sardinia. Oscar Schwerer will lead the way from the front from Adrian and Zoom, and then of course you've got the likes of Owen Kassar. Down towards the back though, there is Jonathan Spiteri. He'll be racing hard as much as he can with Daniel Malia, and there is Ayrton Birmingham. Christian Sammer leading the way of those that are still in that championship hunt.
And towards turn 1 then, who's going to be making that first very fast chest piece move? Sam around the outside, get bashed from Joel Fazlin to Bono onto the gravel trap. He's going to be saying absolutely no you don't, because I wanted some big positions here. I had to Birmingham trying the outside line here, but I wonder if he's going to get overtaken potentially. They head their way in towards the next sequence of corners. They're just going to be trying to pick up the pace once again, but look at that, 3 wide in towards the next corner. That could get all sorts of ugly if drivers aren't careful. Malia is just trying to dive it around the outside. Ayrton Birmingham has dropped a couple of places as well, so that outside attempt was not great from him. Spiteri sits down in P last as well, only grabbing 1 point for his efforts, but of course there's still some early stages in here. They head their way into the tight right-hander.
Yeah, no surprises here. Christian Sammer still leading the way from those 4 still in the championship hunt. He was finishing P5. If he finishes here as it stands so far, it's not going to be what he's looking for to take the crown. He will actually be 1 point still behind Jonathan Spiteri, finishing in P10. Round that outside, Daniel Malia will go. Championship leader might be forced onto the grass. He certainly is. Is he going to hold up the drift? He crashes into Joel De Bono. He finds himself in P9. That is critical in the championship in this one here. They were getting themselves in all kinds of trouble there, and in the end now he's down to P9, and critically he's behind Jonathan Spiteri. As it stands so far, Daniel Malia is still winning this title, but it's by 1 point.
Big moments here in this title hunt. There's still a lot to be contested here, and that session was very much very rash. And I just kind of wonder what what this kind of brings to the whole entire race this time around. Look at that, Adrian Merciaca and Osbridge getting quite feisty. Here, spin round! Oh, that's going to be Owen Kassar. He's just stopped there, crashing away. Oh my goodness me, he's going into the barrier here, but that's really slowed up our main pack here. There is Sam being overtaken here, but Jonathan Spiteri, big moments here in this title hunt, and that's going to see Spiteri fend off his crown here, but look at that, Mali is going to be wanting here in on the action. Crazy stuff here at Sardegna, and here comes Mali up the inside of Samet.
Yeah, it's
a big dive bomb for Christian Samet. He's going to go off. He's in the gravel. Everyone's going to overtake him left, right and centre, and that might be his championship well and truly done. Daniel Malia's back in front of Jonathan Spiteri. They know it's a critical battle here. Oh, it's off board. We wanted to see what happened with Jonathan Spiteri because I think he's going to be going side by side here with David Mifsford. Oh my goodness me, it's very close indeed. Mifsford is past Spiteri, and now of all people in this one, they'll continue on in this very strong battle. This is great racing between these drivers here, albeit quite aggressive. We've still got 17 minutes of racing, folks, and it's still very much open in the air. Who's going to be the champion? As it stands, it's still Malia.
Heading down the straight now, will there be any kind of rash moves that we saw? Look at that on board with Jonathan Spiteri having to look back here with Denzel Adjes. A potential manoeuvre down towards turn number 1, and that now goes to Spiteri with that inside line, bashes into the side here on David Potsy, really taking us back to the 90s in the DTM. Still side by side through 3, still holding it side by side. Spiteri up into P5. This is absolutely mighty from these guys, but the top 3 sides to dash away here with Merciaca leading from Denzel Adjes. But let's stay on this. Let's just stay on here because this is the main stuff we are looking at. Absolutely cooking away with these fights, and Spiteri gonna have to hand that play back over to David Mifsford. After all that, I can't even keep up.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get rid of that graphic down at the bottom so we can just focus purely on the action here. Oh, wow, look at Jonathan Spiteri. So late on the brakes here against Dave Potts. We know turn 8 is pretty much a hot spot for it there. Potts absolutely nailing it there, did Mifsford, actually offering an opportunity here for Ayrton Birmingham to go around the outside of the next corner against Jonathan Spiteri. That's very late on the brakes indeed, side by side, going through 9. And I tell you what, very well crafted indeed from Spiteri. It's allowed Ayrton Birmingham in the mix. He's out of the championship now as Ayrton Birmingham, so it's all about pride for him, but he'll continue on here. And there, David Mifsford has managed to stay P4, Spiteri up to P5 in the end. Osman Swerev is trying his hardest not to fall off of the circuit at the moment, as he's finding a lot of people getting in some really intense racing. Spiteri has a half a second penalty. He'll be serving it at the next lap down this back straight. That's critical.
It will be, and that is going to be proper defining stuff into this title battle. He's going to have to push the living daylights out of this, and maybe even have to try and throw a move on Potsy in these early stages. So that is going to be Mifsford from Spiteri, from De Bono, from what seems to be some Birmingham, my apologies on that one. You're just seeing that front 3 really start to get away, especially Denz and Adrian Merciaca. I think, whoa, moment there from Spiteri. Careful, boy, you've got a championship to try and win. He's gone down the inside here of Malia. Brave, my apology, Mifsud. Big maneuvers being made here. I told you there would be fireworks in all of this, but remember, this is why he's got that half a second penalty. So as long as he gets ahead, you know, he'll be happy handing it over, but that will just show him that he has the pace. Oh, is he going to be off the track?
Yeah, fantastic switch back that from David Mifsford to defend from a man looking to try and retain his crown. It might be a bit of a hit up the rear there, I think, for the black Mercedes, but he does manage to get it past here. As it stands so far, Daniel Malia will still be winning this championship by 6 points. Jonathan Spiteri outright needs to be in front of Daniel Malia, and he's going to lose even more ground because he's got the half a second slowdown that he's going to have to serve right about now, and as a result, he's going to lose all that ground down that back straight. He stays in P5. Whatever happens, Malia is going to be crowned champion as it stands.
Yep, that's going to be super decisive. I'm just going to update my live standings, and you're right, Malia is in such a good position here. It's exactly what he needs. But Spiteri dropping down to 5th is, going to be a lot of pressure for him. I think just the way he's managed to break out here, Malia, that's going to be kind of the defining moments in this race. If you manage to break away from that battling gaggle, you've got some real clean air, so really, push your way forward. Now he's got Adrian Mercieka, who may be feeling a little less confident compared to the other drivers around him, but Mercieka, who can barely finish in the top 5, has an opportunity here of finishing second. So I think we're seeing, in terms of the flipped coin, we're seeing the Watkins Glen side of the coin flip, so plenty of chances, limited chances I should say, of overtaking and pushing forward, which now allows kind of the lesser the lesser kind of drivers an opportunity to really excel here.
Yeah, situation report then if you were interested in the remainder of the standings here. As it stands so far, of course, Daniel Malia will be the champion on 143. Jonathan Spiteri will be second on 137. Dave Misford will rise up to P3 because of Christian Sammet's poor performance, down in P8 overall. David Misford will be on 125, then Chris Sammet on 124, and then Ayrton Birmingham on 109. As I said, he is already out of the title hunt. So as it stands, Christian Sammet was second overall in this championship going into this race weekend. He's coming out of it not even in the top 3.
Indeed. So we still continue on forward here, and Malia has managed to latch himself onto the back here of Adrian Mercieka, as Jonathan Spiteri now finds himself under pressure here from Misford. He's managed to get past the all-black Mercedes, but he's now just got to try and free himself from the depths of these, battling drivers. You see some of your top guys out here as he goes and sets some purple first sector. Some of your top guys are there in 3rd, 4th, 5th. And now he's going to made a big mistake there. Through goes Misford.
And that is the very epitome of Jonathan Spiteri's racecraft in this particular season of the Autobahn legend, because he overdrove the car, put it in the gravel, he's lost another position, he's losing even more time to the person that he needs to get in front of, that is Daniel Malia in P3. He needs to get past David Misford, and he's only got, 10 and a bit minutes to get that in front of Misford, and then overtake Daniel Malia, and then also get P2. As it stands so far, with every corner going by, Jonathan Spiteri's chances of winning this title is slipping away.
Yeah, there's some. Ooh, who's that in the background? Just having a big old error. That Joel Felson de Bono, who under a lot of pressure here from Christian Sammet, what looks to be, and also Owen Kassar with a half-a-second penalty, which he will take next time around. So de Bono costing himself a lot of time down that straight. That's not going to be at all beneficial for his sake, but of course he's not really got anything to fight for at this moment in time. Sam is going to try and just push on through, but he's also starting to drown with the points deficit he's got to our championship leader.
Yeah, Chris Sammet at the moment, and David Misford will be finishing on exactly the same amount of points, 125. So that will go to count back for who will finish in the top 3 as it stands. So it's all going to be about whether David Misford can stay in front of Jonathan Spiteri, and if he does, he might just hold on to a classy P3, but it's all going to be about that countback, so keep an eye out on that one. Keeping an eye out also on the potential inroads of Jonathan Spiteri. He's a man keeping this man on as even David Misford, but he keeps making mistakes here and there. Gap is around about 3.5 seconds between him and Malia, with 9 minutes to go in this one here, Adam. As said, every corner is going by, and Spiteri can see his crown is getting handed over to a new contender.
Indeed it is. So we now follow on with David Misford, who's at the moment pushing on here. This is 3rd in the championship standings, but he's now got to just try and push on and win if he wants to have any sort of opportunity to go and take the championship. But with Jonathan Spiteri right behind him, they're just really boxing each other up here with the gloves and all. down the inside. Will Spiteri go for the move? Absolutely, he's a racing driver. He's definitely for that move contact between the two. And I think Mithra will be looking at like, what on earth are you thinking there? That was a pretty rash move. That's not really how you race. That's not gentlemanly like. But of course, you are, trying to battle for a championship here, which, yes, it may have got him an extra couple of, points here, but how beneficial are they going to be? Because he now just jumped up to 139, but it's still 4 points off. So if he can get past Daniel Malia, that's going to be his only chance here. It's just completely switched. So
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm keeping a very firm eye on Daniel Malley here. He's getting up all the way up at the back of Adrian here. And in that situation, Jonathan Spiteri has actually found an entire second off of the back of Daniel Malley. This championship might not be quite as simple as opened up, but he's made another mistake at turn 8, has Jonathan Spiteri, and he's down to P5 once again. What is the man doing? If he wants to try and win the title, he needs to learn from his mistakes, but he's overdriving the car, and with an opportunity on the horizon with Daniel Malley chasing the back here of Adrian, he's now losing not just one, but he might be losing two. Here comes Ayrton Birmingham, nothing to lose. He's out of the title hunt now. He's now up to P5. Every mistake is the reason why you're not a champion.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a harsh line, James Osser. But it is harsh but fair. Now Malia on his way to try and become the Asphalt king of the land of the Autobahn legends, goes down the inside of Mercieka, and that should be job done and dusted. He's got probably 2 more things to tick off here. Cross the line, lift the championship trophy. That's the 2 left on his to-do list, and as long as he doesn't make a big error here, you can only just assume here it's going to be back pretty well here. Spiteri back onto the grass here. I can tell by your disappointment in there. It's just classic Spiteri in this second race. When he's feeling the pressure, he cracks like an omelette.
No, you know what? I don't even think he's cracking under pressure. I think he's just overdriving the car. He's overcompensating, and he's making mistakes as a result, and it's so disappointing, because I think we would have been in for a real title hunt if it weren't for the fact that Daniel Malia and Adrian Zoom were getting all close and personal. Jonathan Spiteri is gaining at around about a second a lap. Christian Sammer is now all over the back of Jonathan Spiteri, and suddenly our lowest placed man in this title hunt could end up being Jonathan Spiteri, of all people. What a disappointing set of events for him as it stands so far. We have got just a little bit over 5 minutes to go in this session. Spiteri going side by side with Ayrton Birmingham, but he's got the traction out of the corner as our former champion, and now it will be another former champion imminently trying to get at the back at turn 12, turn 13. Christian Sammet, though, has found his mojo once again, and he'll try and at least score a little bit of pride at the moment for what has been a very poor general race weekend.
It's one of those where you're just kind of, you swallowed the pill and it's become very bitter in your mouth. Now you're just gonna have to live with it for the next 5 minutes of this race. So really closing in on the checkered flag here at Sardegna in Italy. Spiteri just be pushing on here, but with the cars and the circuit, I just don't really know if there's much that he can do anymore. He's pushed that car to its absolute limits. The car has not kind of married up with the circuit. He's kind of having to overdrive, as you say, trying that outside banked layout. He's going to try to use all of the exit and more to get this move potentially set up here on Ayrton Birmingham, but will it be successful down in towards this tight right-hander?
It won't even matter in the end of it here, because he needs to be in front of Daniel Malia, and as it stands, he's 4 positions higher than Jonathan Spiteri at the moment. First time he's been able to get turn 8 about right and have a few laps now, and Jonathan Spiteri finally puts the pressure on Ayrton Birmingham for P5. Once again, down that inside he will go, but Ayrton Birmingham will have the traction out of the corner, and once again stays in front of our man P2 in the standings. As it stands, he'll now fall 11 points behind Daniel Malia with that fabulous performance, and as it stands, this man, David Mifsford, will be on equal points with Christian Sammer. So it's important for Sammer that he gets in front of Jonathan Spiteri himself, because otherwise he's at risk of losing P3. So actually, Christian Sammer could really do him more than just getting in front of Jonathan Spiteri here, just for pride, because he needs the points.
Does, and a lot of points still on offer, but with the time remaining, it's going to be really hunk and haul in this one. You can see in there David Potts really just pushing on forward. Mifsud, I think he's happy with his place at the moment. He currently sits I think is third. Third in his title hunt. But yeah, there's not too much that he can go after at this late stage in this race. I think we're just kind of waiting for the checker flag, and I think my voice is as well.
I'll let you try and recover that one here. So just keep an eye out, if you don't mind, for Christian Samet. Did I see a penalty for Christian Samet? I thought someone in the background had a penalty, but it wasn't Christian Samet, thankfully. Someone in the background, it was this man here, Owen Cassar down at the back. All right, I was misunderstood on that scenario. Anyway, back towards the front. Denzel Adge is still leading the way very happily at the moment as well. Not really spoke much of him at the moment, because this is what he has the capability of being able to do, in fairness. It's just that the stars haven't really aligned in this championship, but he'll still finish the season as at least a race winner here tonight in Sardinia's sprint race weekend. He will at least get an opportunity to carry that momentum into whatever other GT championship he decides to follow his way through, as he finishes his 11th tour of Sardinia with a little bit under 2 minutes to go, a little bit over 2 minutes to go in this session. Daniel Malia still leading the way in P2. He's still our champion as it stands, and he'll be our champion by a long way in comparison to where we were going into it.
Indeed, going in towards turn number 1 once again for the 12th time this race. We've now hit 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So with laps being around about 1 minute 30, I think we're going to have 2 minutes or 2 laps, I should say, remaining here in Sardinia. And we do have a brand new champion in waiting. And
wow.
you just see Jonathan Spiteri is going to go from bad to worse to, arguably hellish. This moment in time, sits in 6th. He's being blocked here by big crash in the background. Joel Faz on De Bono head first into the barrier, but luckily this is a virtual world, so we don't have to worry about too much. I think it's just kind of pride that has been damaged in this situation. Samet continuing to push on here. I think everyone's still trying to push on, but very, very kind of limited in what they can do and what's in the offering.
Opportunity here for Christian Samet. Needs to stay very close at the back of Jonathan Spiteri. He is P3 in the standings overall on 127 as it stands. Christian Samet with this half a second slowdown. Will Christian Samet be able to get P6, and will he be able to at least keep on hold on P3 at the moment, with David Misford currently up in P4 at the moment? He will be finishing P4, but only by 2 points. There's your slowdown. Christian Samet getting the better exit out the corner, but will it be enough? Will he have enough of a speed advantage going down here? You can see the amount of time that he's going to lose as a result of that slowdown. He'll go around the outside. This is critical here for Chris Samet and his championship hopes. Side by side they will go into turn 1. He gets P6 out of the hands of Jonathan Spiteri, but he's going to have the outside of turn 1. Who's going to have the advantage going through the corner? There will be a slight bit of trading pain, but around the outside Christian Samet will go, and Jonathan Spiteri is now our lowest placed person in our front 4 fighting for the title, and that's what happens when you overdrive the car. 10 seconds left.
Wow, unbelievable stuff here in Sardinia, and it has really come to a big crescendo moment there. I think that was just the icing on the cake here for Jonathan Spiteri. It just has not gone to plan, and he will kind of live to regret that. I think he's going to join he's already won an Asphalt Kings Championship. He can try and go for another one next season, but you see the desperation is still there. He's going down the inside of Samet's contact between the two forces the Mercedes into the gravel trap. But yeah, he's going to now wait up for Samet. A little bit of gentlemanly play here from himself, from the former champion. But we have a winner to crown. Denzel Adge, after what has been a very, very difficult season, will come now across the timing beam to take a win here. But a brand new Asphalt King to the crown here. Daniel Malia, take a bow. You are the Asphalt Kings Autobahn Legends champion.
Coming across the line then, Ayrton Birmingham might just get over the line. In the end, it was just David Misford. It was very close. Christian Samet finishing a very respectable P6 in the end in this one. JS himself finishing a very lowly P8 overall, with David Misford finishing in a P4. Nice little drift over the line from Sean Cassar, but he's miles away from the start-finishing line on that one, so he'll finish in P9. There, P4 for Dave Misford, and Addix P5 overall in this championship means that as it stands, And not even as it stands, the final standings are as here. This man, Denzel Agius, finally getting a very classy race victory to win out on here. But Jonathan Spiteri will miss out on the title by 14 points. Daniel Malia is your Asphalt King for season number 6. He is on top step, as I said, from Jonathan Spiteri, finishes in P2. Christian Samet does in the end finish in P3 from David Misford, who only finishes 2 points behind Christian Samet in the end, with Ayrton Birmingham rounding out on 113 in P5. In terms of the race results here, Denzel Agius won the race here from Daniel Malia. Adrian finishing on the podium is a great result from him, from David Misford, from Ayrton Birmingham, from Christian Samet. Osbert Schwerer finishing a very good P7. Jonathan Spiteri a very lowly P8 indeed. Your final couple of positions then, Sean Kassar in 9th, and then Joe Falzon de Bono, who had a DNF as a result of that spin out at the end of the race. The Asphalt Kings is done. We're finished now for this title here, and as it says here, Daniel Malia, our championship leader, going into this, as I go gold here to crown a champion. We have our new champion in Daniel Malia. Well-deserved performance. He's managed to carry some serious pace all the way through. Jonathan Spiteri threw everything and the kitchen sink. He even threw himself, to be fair, into some serious sort of battles, you'd have to say, throughout this season. But in the end, it is all about sheer consistency in cars that were less than consistent.
Yeah, indeed. I think there was some really, really tough moments going into that race. You just saw how difficult it was to kind of get maneuvers done. I wonder if it was kind of like the low power. This circuit is kind of more preferred for GT3 action, compared to kind of road course cars. So that was really, really kind of maybe the difference in that. And the driver, we've probably said it at some point this season before, but this champion really just focus on the drivers, quite a lot. We want to see seeing what the driver can do, what they can get out of the cars, who's the best driver around this circuit. And Jonathan Spiteri was one of those drivers that really was able to kind of make up the time, and he showed it with the fastest lap the last week, despite kind of chucking it into every single corner where a driver was. But overall, it just didn't really come off. But he can kind of walk away from the championship saying, yes, I did lose, but I've already won an Asphalt Kings championship before, so I can definitely come back with a refreshed head.
Plenty to learn for a lot of these drivers here. Daniel Malia is your Asphalt King. Fantastic racing nonetheless. That's it. Velocity Esports is done for a little while here because, of course, we finished Ultimate Masters just a few weeks ago. Of course, the Maserati GT Challenge finished about just over a month ago now, I think it was. The Asphalt King's now wrapping up here. So keep an eye out over on our Twitter, VelocityMT, for all of the latest information over here at Velocity Esports. This Asphalt Kings Championship was brought to you by here at Velocity Sports with Motors Inc., Intercomp, Monster Energy, Brand Garage, Level Academy, and the Specialist for what has been a magnificent season. We have coronated our new king in Daniel Malia, and we'll see if he can defend it at the next opportunity at the Asphalt Kings. Take care. Thanks. Bye-bye.